Everyone, need your attention, please. I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
Let's have a chat then about The Beekeeper, the new action movie directed by David Ayer, written by Kurt Wimmer and starring Jason Statham, Emmy Raver-Lampman, Josh Hutcherson, Bobby Naderi, Minnie Driver, Felicia Rashad and Jeremy Irons. Now, I am not familiar with just what inspired The Beekeeper, but never in my wildest dreams did I imagine a film that actually delivered on its title here. An action thriller with Jason Statham as a man who keeps bees. Surely nobody would offer up a gift like that. Well, chums, not only have they done so, but to my pleasure and surprise really, they have delivered one of the best pure Jason Statham action films in some time. I mean, it opens up with some really serious looking academic stuff about bees playing under the opening credits. So I got the sense very early on it might commit to its name. I mean, there's a film that's just out now, Rennie Harlin directed film called The Bricklayer with Aaron Eckhart. And as I understand it, Aaron Eckhart does not lay a brick in that film. No such qualms here. Very early on, you get the Statham delivering the line earnestly, "I just want to thank you for putting up with me and all of my bees." I've got to be honest, at that moment, I knew I was in safe, gloved hands. I mean, perhaps that shouldn't have been a surprise, because not only does the Statham produce here, but the people behind The Beekeeper, well, they're no slouches either. Screenwriter Kurt Wimmer, for instance, he may have had his ups and downs, but on his day, I'm thinking equilibrium here, he comfortably knows his way around this kind of old school action stuff. Director David Ayer, meanwhile, I mean, he's a man who's made genuinely superb films such as Fury and End of Watch. And here he's taken a tonal jump. He's also taking a break from having to answer people's questions about his 2016 film Suicide Squad online. And he uses the time to deliver a film that he does appear to have a lot more control over. And perhaps that's why the action here feels quite so direct. Because on his way up, the action in Jason Statham films was really quite something, really physical, really full on. I mean, take a look at films such as Safe and Blitz, the Transporter trilogy, Crank and The One. I mean, you might not love them all, but there's a very physical shift put in, and the in-camera action in those films is just not in short supply. Set that against last year's trio of Statham features. I mean, Meg 2 The Trench, a big but very digital movie. Fast X, a big but very digital movie. Expendables 4, we'll gloss over that. The Beekeeper comfortably eclipses the lot of them. The setup here sees the Statham as Adam Clay. He's a man who studiously and carefully makes honey whilst protecting his non-metaphorical, in this instance, hive. He's given a bit of space in the back room of Felicia Rashad's house to do what a man does in his own secluded shed. And at first, I mean, it looks like it might be quite a short film until cyber scammers attack. So, you know those tosspots who ring up the elderly and try and get them to hand over control of their computers and then raid their bank accounts and leave them distraught? Well, what the Beekeeper has found here is something of a holy grail. Movie villains that everybody can hate straight away. I'm amazed these people have not been tapped before for an action movie, and the Beekeeper does not miss its shot. So, said cyber scammers duly defraud the Statham's neighbour, and it would be fair to say that when the Statham puts his honeypots down, when he finds out, things, well, they escalate quite a lot. The plot also, perhaps not to its favour, also escalates quite a lot from these fairly low beginnings. I mean, I don't want to spoil where it's going, but it does go a little bit mad. You get Josh Hutcherson in the midst of this, clearly having fun being an oily and hateable movie foe. There's the call centre of said cyber scammers that the Statham decides to visit. It's quite a place as well. I mean, thoughtfully, whilst everyone in this high-tech call centre has headsets and such like, they do keep a few corded phones on site so that Jason Statham can, well, let's just say, use them. This whole work environment, in fact, feels like a bit of a mix between the Wolf of Wall Street and one of those places that just has a constant over-the-top massive screensaver on the wall behind everybody. And all of that's useful. I mean, it helpfully reminds us we're in a high-tech place. There's not a single person working there that you wouldn't want to punch repeatedly in the face. And thankfully, Jason obliges on that front. Still, a third of the way into the movie, it's only 105 minutes, it's thankfully very lean. The plot obstacles for Adam Clay are low. People get on his nerves, he deals with them. But crikey, things certainly get real when, and I'm not making this up, his newfound enemies shoot his bees. Let's just stop and think about that for a minute. They shoot his bees. Never, never, never shoot Jason Statham's bees, because what follows is a carnival of body parts being chopped off, a burning corpse, a really satisfying creative kill involving a vehicle. There's a dot matrix printer at one point. I like a bit of old school tech. There are earnest conversations about bees, and then there's like Oscar winner Jeremy Irons wondering if he can get another Die Hard with a Vengeance size check in a suitably antagonistic role. If you're wondering why I've not even bothered with copious bee puns in this review so far, it's really simple. I don't actually need to. Kurt Wimmer's script got there first. There are tons in there. This film knows what it is and it delights in it. And there was a point where I was watching it where I was looking forward to the sequel, even as this film was playing out before my eyes. It is the most fun I've had with a Jason Statham movie in years. Now, there are problems. I'm realistic about this. To say the plot goes to some implausible and also amazingly security lax places, it's a bit like saying the price of popcorn at the cinema is just a little bit on the expensive side. When Wimmer's script takes us away from some of the smaller stake stuff as well to, well, where he takes us, it would be fair to say reality snaps like half of the limbs of the baddies in this particular film. Still, compensation is offered when characters mull stuff such as, quote, if anyone can knock this guy's dick in the dirt, it's them. And so there's kind of a counterbalance here of an old school action film and a plot that is just escalating to why is it going there kind of levels. Now, I might also have misremembered, but the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon, Captain Caveman, gets a name check at one point. Couldn't find a good place to pop that in organically, so I'll just throw it in here and move on. It is, though, a lovely surprise to have a double bill of FBI agents in the supporting roles of an action film who are not short of a bit of scene stealing. Really good action films have really good supporting characters, and so many of them just don't seem to work in modern cinema. Whichever casting director threw Emmy Raver Lampman and Bobby Naderi together deserves an extra packet of biscuits. They are joyous when they wander on the screen together. They are a properly good supporting character double pairing, and I mean, I found myself just waiting for the moments they wandered on the screen. That said, do not think I was taking my eyes off the Statham. He is firmly and delightfully on home ground. There's a point where he just carries a bag of bees around with him and looks angry. There's a small moment near the start where he just appears to be doing a bit of an accent, but don't let that distract you, because as soon as he says, I keep bees, well, then proceeds to hit some more people. He is the key attraction. Director David Ayer knows it, the film knows it. It's at its best when it's doing the stuff that Statham really used to do a lot in films. It's really odd that this kind of film, once the kind of bread and milk of movie studios, feels such an unfashionable project now. This has not been cut back for PG-13 or 12A. This is something of an old school action film with a bit of comedy, with fun characters, with a silly plot. Nobody told Ayer, Statham and Wimmer that this was unfashionable stuff because they've just gone ahead and made it. That, or perhaps more likely, the trio simply didn't care about the modern day rules of action cinemas. I'm not going to ask them though. I just want them to focus on giving me the Beekeeper 2, because the fun I had with the Beekeeper, well, it's got 2024 off to a rocketing start. Insert your own little bee gag here while I give the film 4 stars.